Now in this video, we're going to tell you all about the weather in Durango. Now we're not just going to tell you about the weather in Durango, but I'm going to give you kind of a big overall view of Colorado and compare some other mountain towns, because I just got off a call the other day where I was talking to a buyer that is going to buy a home in Durango or looking at buying here, and he was comparing Durango to cities or towns like Crested Butte, Telluride, Vail, Aspen. And so I'm actually going to go down the list of those towns, compare the weather, compare the snow that they get to Durango, so you can really see a good comparison of those. And we're going to jump into it right now. So guys, as much as I love making these videos, I even love more helping you with your real estate needs. So if you're even thinking about moving to Durango, give me a call, text, email, days, nights, weekends. I'd love to help you out with all your real estate needs in Durango. So let's jump into the first subject, is the summers. It's gonna be the summers here in Durango. Now this is probably one of the reasons I moved here. We moved from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it was hitting 101, 105 degrees in the summer, and the majority of the day was in the hundreds. So we really wanted to get away from that. It was just tough to even go outside and enjoy the day. You know, you're trying to get up and go for a run at 6 a.m. so that it's not that hot in the during the day. You're not dying trying to go for a run. I am a distance runner. I love mountain biking. I love being outside. So it's just tougher and more frustrating when you're trying to, you know, run a 5K in 19 minutes and you're trying to plan your day and trying to make that work. So the summers here, I'm just going to get into the specifics. The summers here in June, the high is 86. July, the high is 89. August, the high is 85. So keep in mind that is the high. And so that is right around that, you know, 1 to 3 p.m. time frame. And then the temperature is going down, and in the morning, it's quite a bit cooler than that. Like the mornings are really in the 60s in those months, and then they're coming up 70s and 80s in the midday, really in that July time frame. Now, I want to go into a little more detail on that. So there are a lot of homes here that don't have AC or air conditioning. Now, I want to go into more detail on that. There are a lot of homes here that don't have AC or air conditioning or swamp coolers or really any way to cool the home besides fans. So as you're looking at homes here, you want to look to see if there's radiant floor heating or if it is central heating. And because you're going to find that if it's radiant floor heating, it's a lot harder to install heating, just a lot more expensive. And a lot of these homes, they really don't have that duct system. So you're like, how do I even do that? You'll see a lot of homes and luxury homes, 1 to 3 million or even higher price points, that have split AC units, basically wall units that are really nicely done. They really do a good job. I'd encourage you, if you're on the fence and thinking like, I really need AC, I'd encourage you to consider a property that does have that split AC unit. Maybe move in for the summer, see how it is, and you could always add AC in the future. But not necessarily being completely closed off to a property that doesn't have that ductwork already in. I do think you're going to miss out, or maybe not necessarily miss out, but there's going to be a lot less homes that are going to be in your criteria, in your search, if you are not open to either having split AC units or just not having AC. Then with that, keep in mind, it just depends on where the house is. So surprisingly, or you might be surprised to know that the properties that are higher elevation, such as the Edgemont subdivisions, Durango Ridge Ranch, some of these subdivisions that are higher elevation than in town, which is about 6,700 feet, or sorry, 6,512 actually, these subdivisions are going to get about 2 degrees to 3 degrees cooler. And they're going to be kind of tucked in the forest. Some of these, like in Edgemont, are going to be tucked in the pines, so it's just more shaded. The sun is not baking on your house all day. So I really wanted to get into that detail. I had a client I was working with recently where that was really important to them, and totally understandable. You know, it's really your preference if it's really important to you to have AC, but something to really weigh out as you're considering moving here, where you're maybe used to having AC and most homes have AC. In August, I want to jump into, you know, we get kind of closer into that August timeframe, we get monsoons. And so that's that rain that we get in the afternoons, a lot of lightning, so really be careful. Unfortunately, my parents had a neighbor that was actually out walking their dog and they got struck by lightning. And so it's really unfortunate. You really want to be cautious of the weather here. Just keep in mind, you are living in a mountain town. You know, we start at basically 6,500 feet elevation and climb from there. So it is not a, you know, it definitely is a mountain town, and we're gonna get the weather that the mountains get. With that, traveling can be a little bit tougher. I had a buddy here a few summers ago, and he had his flight out, was gonna be leaving about 2 p.m. He sat at the airport all afternoon and all evening, and the flight didn't even leave. It just canceled, said they might fly out the next day because of all the lightning and thunderstorms. So you want to be cognizant of that, just understanding that it's a little bit trickier to travel. We do have several airports. You could travel to Cortez and hopefully get a flight out of there, but it's just trickier to travel in the summer because of that. So you just want to be more flexible with that. Now let's talk about the fall, September. So in September, the temperature starts to drop. It really gets quite perfect in the summer, or in September rather, and your temps are in the mid 70s. Your highs are in the mid 70s, I should say. And then in October, they start to drop. But I want to talk a little bit more about the leaves changing. So this is why people travel from 3, 4, 5 hours away to Durango to see the leaves changing. Like, it is stunning here. And we have an incredible highway, Highway 550, known as the $1 Million Highway, that if you don't want to do four-wheeling or a bunch of hiking, you can drive that road and it's absolutely stunning. There's some great four-wheeling trails. Old Lime Creek Road is one that, you know, you can just have a, you know, four-wheel drive vehicle. You almost don't even need four-wheel drive to drive some of that. Just gets really bumpy and rutted out, but stunning views. It does turn into this fairly sketchy, I shouldn't call it sketchy, but just more one lane. So if you come up on another car coming from the other direction, you just want to be very careful, kind of cliff edge type driving there, but very, very beautiful. The leaves are changing. We'll go mountain biking up there. There's a ton of really good hikes, but there are some great hikes in town, close to town. Hermosa Creek Trail, that's about a 30+ mile trail. That's a really good one. But as you get, and that's closer to town, but as you get up north into Silverton, really, I'd recommend any of those trails up there are great. I'm trying to think of some of the trails that we really like to do. So there are some trails right out of Silverton, actually on your way into Silverton, Mullis, as well as Andrews Lake. The trails around those lakes are perfect because you can bring out your paddle boards or even rent some paddle boards in town, bring them up there and just hang out for the day and just enjoy the changing leaves and just that fall season up there. And so I want to give you guys a little bit more, just kind of a list. I'm just going to name off some stuff. Feel free to comment or reach out to me if you have questions on any of these specifics of things that you can do in the fall. So the first thing, now I just mentioned hiking, but hiking as far as like multi-day trips. We've got the Chicago Basin with 4 14ers. They call it the Grand Slam. Stunning, stunning scenery. Even if you don't hike those 14ers, just hiking into Chicago Basin, it's about 9 or 10 miles or so. And it's really worth doing. Stunning scenery again, just incredible. And so some of the other things on my list is my wife really loves the Animas Mountain. So they are right in town. Really nice hike. You can do it from right in town. And you know, you can go out 10, 15, 20 minutes and turn around and you're getting beautiful views of the of in town. Then we're planning a trip to Chicago Basin. I've got that on my notes, so I want to hit on that again, but we're planning that trip in September specifically. It's really tricky to plan these trips because of the rain season, because of those thunderstorms. You really want to get out there real early. Then last fall, we did a race in the La Plata Canyon, and the leaves changing up there are stunning. You know, we did the race, I think it was the first week of August, and then the leaves start changing in September. So we went back up there with my 2 sons and my wife, got the drone up in the air, got some stunning photography with the drone, and we're just able to walk around, kind of hang out. My son loved just going down by the river there and just playing. So really fun up that area, and up in that area. There's also some stunning, stunning properties up there. There's one in there for, I think it's a 15,000 square foot property. It might be even bigger. That's right in La Plata Canyon. Stunning scenery. Again, I know I overuse that word, but it's just incredible in there. And then some other things on the list, take the train to Silverton. Really recommend taking that train to Silverton. It is a really long ride if you have kids, so I'd consider maybe doing the halfway mark, Cascade Canyon, or just doing a drive, maybe doing a little four-wheeling if you have kids. I just think it's a little bit longer of a drive, or longer of a trip for kids, at least that are younger. And then driving to Silverton, this is kind of what I just mentioned, but keep in mind on the way up there at Mullis Pass, there is a parking lot with restrooms, so you can get out, do a hike there. There's some great trails there, like I was mentioning. And highest point is nearly 11,000 feet. So the reason I bring that up is the leaves change quicker at that higher elevation. So you want to kind of be cognizant, if in town Durango, they're already changing, then they might have already fallen off the trees up higher. So you want to just be kind of careful not to miss it up that direction. Some other things on my list, go to a pumpkin patch. We went to an awesome pumpkin patch about 20 minutes from downtown Durango, kind of southeast Ignacio area last fall rather. With our son, he loved it. He didn't want to leave. So that's always the challenge when you find a good pumpkin patch or a good place to go. But if you have kids, the pumpkin patch is awesome. Even if you don't, they've got great food trucks, some good music. They've got a lot of fun stuff going on. Just a cool place to hang out for the day. And then next thing on my list, I am super passionate about fly fishing. I grew up fly fishing. My dad had me in a backpack since I was 2 years old while he was fishing. When I turned, I think it was 11 or 12, he brought me on on his seasonal trip that he did with some friends to the San Juan River. We would stay at the Soaring Eagle Lodge, we stayed at Abe's, we stayed at a few different places, Fish Heads as well. Highly recommend staying there. But we'd go there for 3 days and fish every day from sunup to sundown. And so the reason I bring that up is I absolutely love the fishing here. In Durango and around Durango, the fishing is stunning. So not just in the fall, but throughout the summer, the spring, even the winter. The winter, the fishing is going to be the best in the San Juan as well as the Animas River. But then in the summer, hitting some of these alpine lakes, and then in the fall, hitting these alpine lakes as well, and smaller streams like the Hermosa Creek. There's a lot of great fishing here. I had a friend that told me his friend believed, and he agrees, believes that Durango is the best spot in Colorado for fishing, not just locally, but as far as like how close you are to everything, how many different streams and waters there are close by. So I, of course, want to hit on that, partly just because I'm so passionate about fly fishing. And so if you guys have any specific questions, again, please reach out, give me a call, text, email. Love to talk to you more, dive into fly fishing more, tell you some great spots, and that kind of thing. And while I'm at it, just wanted to remind you guys, I'm a licensed realtor here in Durango. Would be happy to help you with all your real estate needs. Again, as it pertains to fishing, if you're a fly fisherman or you just want to be close to water in general, just have your house on some water, love to talk to you about specific properties and areas that are right on water, that are on the Animas River, that are on private ponds. I know, kind of the access and the amount of ponds that are stocked in some of these private subdivisions, just because I love it so much. And then the next item on here is take the chairlift at Purgatory Ski Resort. So just taking the chairlift up, hanging out at the top, just enjoying the scenery. They've got a food spot up at the top and so you get these stunning views up there, especially in the fall. So again, I'm kind of talking through the list of specific things to do in the fall, as of course there's a ton of things to do just in general, but I'm kind of looking for things or created this list based off of things that you can really do focused around seeing the leaves and the colors changing. So the next one is going horseback riding in the Animas Valley. There's some great companies out there that can take you horseback riding. My son, my wife horsebacks and my horseback rides, and my son loves horses. So that's something we love to do as well. She was able to make a connection with a friend that lives in the Animas Valley as well. Go horseback riding there. Really worth it, just the scenery. As you can see behind me, we're actually in the Animas Valley right now. And then the next one is ride the mountain coaster at Purgatory Ski Resort. Mountain coaster is really cool, does the 360. It's our little roller coaster, if you will, for Durango, but the scenery is incredible from that coaster. Fall is going to be kind of in the 50s to 60s, as of course we're getting closer to the winter. The next item on my list is going to be the snow. And so we're going to kind of dive into the snow. I'm going to take you guys to another spot just to talk a little bit more about the snow. And like I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to compare, I don't know if I did mention this, we're going to compare a bunch of the different subdivisions and actually show you the last snowfall that we got and go through the amounts of snowfall that we got from the last storm so that you can see the differences in different subdivisions and the elevations that they're at. All right, guys, so now let's dive into the snow. So I want to get kind of into the nuance so you kind of get an idea of what to expect instead of just stats and numbers. So we're generally getting snow starting after Thanksgiving or maybe a little bit before Thanksgiving, getting a little bit of snow. It's usually not a crazy snow, not a foot at a time. Then we're getting snow into January and through March a lot of the time. So right now I'm filming this on March 2nd. And as you can see, we've got a little bit behind us. It's melted off pretty well right now. This winter didn't get a ton of snow, but they are predicting another storm next week or this coming week. So we are getting snow into March most of the time. And a lot of the times we will see kind of a later winter in the sense of like January, February get a lot more snow than December and Thanksgiving timeframe. All right, now, like I mentioned earlier, what I'm going to dive into is the differences of the snowfall in other mountain towns and other towns in Colorado, give you the differences and compare them to Durango. Then we're going to jump into more specific differences of snowfall in the subdivisions throughout Durango. So I'm just going to jump in. Alamosa, Colorado, 30 inches. And actually, let me start with Durango. So Durango is 67 inches annual snowfall on average. Keep in mind that's in town Durango, which is 6512 elevation. And of course it climbs as you get 5-10 minutes out of town, most directions except for south, just to give you that context. And so Alamosa, it's about 30 inches. They're about 3.5 hours away from us. Going east, Aspen, 170 inches. Breckenridge, 184. Colorado National Monument is going to be 21. Cortez, 33. They're just about an hour to hour and a half east of us. Crested Butte, 203 inches. So quite a bit more than here. Durango, like I just mentioned that. Glenwood Springs, 38. Grand Junction, 17 inches. Gunnison, 45 inches. Leadville, 156 inches. Mesa Verde National Park, 65. So about the same as us. They're about an hour away or so from us. Ouray is going to be 126 inches. That's where the ice park is. Incredible place, definitely worth checking out. But they do get quite a bit more snow, much smaller town as well. I get a lot of calls about Ouray and Silverton. Those areas get a lot more snow than us. Silverton is 172 inches. Steamboat Springs is 184 inches. So just as a snapshot, most of these mountain towns get way more snow than us, but we've got Purgatory Ski Resort just 30 minutes away from downtown Durango, and they get quite a bit more snow than in town Durango. So keep in mind that a lot of these mountain towns are getting way more, but Durango itself gets a lot less, and you can still escape over to the mountains and to the skiing. And I forgot to mention Telluride at 130 inches. Definitely worth mentioning Telluride. They're about a 2-hour drive, 2 to 210 away from us. All right, so now what we're gonna do is show you the high and the low temperatures in January in these mountain towns. And I'm picking January because that is going to be the coldest month, so that gives you a good idea of what the winters are going to look like in the coldest month. So we're going to start with Denver at a high of 44, low of 17. Then Durango, 41 and 13. Then a couple towns right around Durango. So Bayfield is going to be high of 35 and low of 13. Then Mancos, high of 36, low of 16. So you really see that difference where Bayfield and Mancos are about the same because their elevation is higher than Durango. Than Durango, you're about 6 degrees warmer. So really good to note that if you're considering, maybe I'll live in Bayfield because the prices are quite a bit lower. You just want to know you're going to get more snow and you're going to get a colder temperature in the winter. Montrose, 39, high of 39, low of 16. Grand Junction, 38, low of 17. It's going to be Aspen, 36 and low of 9. Steamboat Springs, high of 27, low of 3. Crested Butte, 26 is going to be their high, low of -8. Really dips down there in Crested Butte. Telluride, high of 27 and low of 7. So again, Telluride only about 2 hours away from us. They are, almost 15 degrees cooler in January. Ouray is gonna be 26 and a low of 7, so almost the same as Telluride. All right, now I wanna give you guys a recommendation, the Durango weather guy. So throw that into Google, favorite that, save it on your phone. If you're considering moving here, you can kind of keep up with the storms, and then once you're here, it's a great reference. He's what a lot of locals go to see what kind of storms we're gonna get, how much it's going to snow in their subdivision specifically. So what I did was from the last storm, I pulled the totals of the amount of snow in each subdivision specifically. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but the major subdivisions, I'm going to go through some of those. So keep in mind that homes above about 7,200 feet are going to get quite a bit more snow. If you guys shoot me a message, give me a call, text, email, I'm happy to tell you a good website that I don't have it on the top of my head right now, but tell you a good website where you can look up the elevation of the specific property. And if you already know that, then I recommend plugging that in, kind of get a feel for what kind of elevation they're at in regards to how much snow they're gonna get. So in no specific order, Wolf Creek got 45 inches. Let's see, Purgatory got 39, Telluride, and I'm gonna give you, some towns first, but Telluride got 30 inches, Silverton 18, Lemon Reservoir area got 21, then Mancus 8 inches, then they got 7 inches as it went down in elevation just a little bit. Dolores got 7 inches, Durango Hills got 19, Enchanted Forest got 15, and don't worry if you don't know these areas specifically, but maybe write these down, jot some of these down, and then if you find a property in these areas, you can kind of reference this, or just know that I'm a great resource for you guys. You can reach out to me, and again, we can hop on a Zoom call, kind of go through a map tour for you specifically based on what you're looking for. And that way you get an idea of what kind of snow you're gonna get, where you're looking, and I can just be shooting you, you can shoot me a text with a specific property, and I can tell you, yeah, you'll get this much snow in that area compared to in town. Yes, that has a steeper driveway. I can go and shoot a drone video for you or a walkthrough tour. Like I mentioned, I'm a licensed realtor here in Durango, so don't hesitate to reach out. Give me a call, text, email anytime. Let's dive back into this. Hesperus got about 16 inches, and then lower elevation in Hesperus got about 13. Durango West got 15 inches. Upper Forest Lakes, that's out in Bayfield area, they got 14. Keep in mind, Forest Lakes, they break it into upper and lower because it just goes up and up and up in elevation. So they're gonna get a different amount in that subdivision specifically. I do have some videos on that subdivision and a lot of these subdivisions specifically. So again, feel free to shoot me a text if you want to find a video on a specific subdivision, because I probably shot a video on it. Next one is going to be Lower Forest Lakes. Just like I was mentioning, upper got 14, Lower Forest Lakes got about 12. Glacier got 13. They are stunning golf community subdivision. I have some great videos on that subdivision as well. Falls Creek Ranch got 14. Pine River Ranches, they're out in Bayfield, really cool area with the Pine River running right through them. They got 7.5 inches. South Cortez got 5.75 inches. Then Gem Village got 8 inches. They are just as you're getting into Bayfield. Durango Downtown got 5 inches. So you see all those totals, and then you can compare it to Durango Downtown area getting 5 inches, the Fairgrounds area getting about 6. So it varies a little bit in that kind of downtown Durango area. But keep in mind, like, they're getting quite a bit less. They're actually getting about the least amount of anywhere in the county. South of downtown Durango is going to get a little bit less, of course, as you get closer to the border. So if you're really looking for somewhere where you don't get much snow, it's going to be that south of downtown area. We call it the Mesa. Again, happy to hop on a map tour, kind of show you a map tour of that area. But that south area of downtown Durango is going to get the least amount. Then in-town Durango is going to get similar. Then in the valley, in the Animas Valley, is going to get a similar amount. Sometimes they're an inch or two more, inch or two less. It kind of varies. Then keep in mind, like, the evenings and the nights are always going to be cooler, even in the summer. So I just wanted to emphasize that if you're not from an area where that really drops in temperature in the night, we definitely get that here. Now what I'm gonna do is dive into kind of some basics, but a little bit of nuance regarding what you need for some of these harsher climates and weather around Durango. So I do have a specific video on that where I dive into all the things you need to know about living here in the winter. So definitely check that one out when you're done watching this. This portion will just be kind of a breeze over some of the things I touch on in that video. That video goes into much more depth. I actually show you jackets, hoodies, or jackets, mittens, gloves, different types of gloves. I show you, talk about snowshoes, talk about their utility. I go way into more depth in that video. So anyway, let's jump in here. So footwear in the winter, I recommend having a good waterproof pair of boots for just kind of everyday use. Like in other towns, you're just not going to need that even if it snows a little bit. But here I have a good winter pair of boots that are, again, sturdy, good traction, has some good grip. There's some great companies out there that make them that are still stylish and nice. In other seasons, just having some good hiking boots, having a couple pairs, like I really like Salomon, and then some waterproof shoes, some closed, I really like some closed heel shoes that kind of strap in your toe. There's a lot of different brands out now, but that you can wade in the water with. You can go for a hike that has, maybe it's right along the river, so you can still jump in the river, walk across the river in some of those. Then outdoor gear. So in winter, again, snowshoes, insulated gloves, hat, a good shell. I really recommend like a good Patagonia. There's a ton of different brands, but a good waterproof Gore-Tex shell is really important. Then a good down jacket as well. As I go through this, again, feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions. I'm happy to kind of dive into more specifics. Sunglasses, and then regarding winter driving, this is something that I just didn't think of when we moved here, but having, let's see, so having snow tires for one is really important. Don't skimp on that. I really recommend having a four-wheel drive vehicle. You could probably get away with it if you're not gonna go to the mountains, but it's still really tricky to drive without four-wheel drive. Then having an emergency kit in your car. I really recommend having a good first aid kit, actually having a sleeping bag, having extra water, just having a few of those really essential things, because even if you get stuck on the side of the road just north of town, it's really important you have some of that because it does get really, really cold at night. If you get stuck overnight, you just want to be prepared. Then in the summer, just having extra water with you, also having filtration with you, being able to filter water and having a good amount of water. A good Camelback is really good. There are some other items like traction boards that I really recommend throwing in your car for the winter especially. And then keep in mind, this is something just going back to weather that I didn't mention earlier, is that we've got this kind of muddy season. So kind of in the spring, right after kind of the snow starts melting, it's kind of a muddy season. So regarding hiking, mountain biking, it's just really muddy out. So keep that in mind, just be able to prepare for that. It's gonna be slower hiking, trickier hiking. And if you're trying to go four-wheeling, you could get stuck. So again, just be cognizant of that. Then again, stuff like sunscreen, waterproof gear, having a good bag. If you're going paddleboarding, kayaking, whatever, just great to have a good waterproof bag to put all your stuff in. That's a great go-to. And then really checking the forecast. So there's some great apps that you can put on your phone for checking the weather forecast. A really good website I really like is 14ers.com. So if you're going to hike a 14er or a 13er, a lot of times they'll have updates in there of what's going on at that location, because it's tricky to actually find weather reports based on a mountain that's in the middle of nowhere, right? That's not close to a town. Then avalanche risk is another really important thing. So my buddy and I were sitting down the other day. He was talking about avalanche risk. He said it really doesn't go below moderate, but a lot of these areas will be moderate, and there's some great classes you can take. He took some last year, or one of the classes last year, and they taught about avalanche danger, how to understand if there's avalanche risk, how to just be safe for it. There's also these backpacks you can wear that will help you. They inflate and they can basically help save your life. So I really recommend looking into avalanche danger, just being cognizant of what's going on there. Every single year somebody does, at least in the past since I've lived here, every year somebody dies from an avalanche. He was talking about this is the most dense avalanche area in the country, at least in the lower 48, because of these San Juans and how they're formed and how we have roads going right through the mountains. So you really want to be careful when you're driving as well. Like, you would think it's not a big deal when you're driving, but you really want to be careful when you're driving as well. Even if it hasn't snowed recently, it's like you're thinking, oh, it hasn't snowed recently, it's not a big deal, but it definitely can be. And then just acclimatizing to the altitude. So keep in mind, we are pretty high elevation, especially compared to places like Texas, Phoenix, other areas. You want to acclimate, right? Don't go out and do a 14er right when you get here. Be careful. Think about that. You really can get sick. It can be really rough if you just go out and start hiking right away, even if you're in really good shape. So guys, if you're even thinking about moving to Durango, make sure to give me a call, text, email, days, nights, weekends. Like I mentioned, I love making these videos, but I even love more helping you guys with your real estate needs. And we just had a client give us a call last week. We were able to hop on a Zoom call with them, go over the map with them with Google Earth so they could really see it really well and understand. We talked in depth about exactly what they were looking for, did kind of the Google Drive, showed them the neighborhoods, showed them the areas. And I offered to them, like I love to offer to you guys, to put the drone up in the air and do a virtual tour of a property. So like I mentioned, reach out days, nights, weekends, give me a call, text, or email. Love to help you out. Looking forward to talking to you guys soon. By the way, I'd love to hear where you guys are watching from, kind of get a better idea so that I can shoot videos that are maybe more tailored to where you're coming from, maybe a little bit more of your perspective. Please throw that in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe. We'll see ya.